Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt completely overwhelmed by how small you are? That feeling you get when you realize you're standing on a tiny rock hurtling through an ocean of darkness so vast that your brain simply refuses to process it. Well, buckle up, because what I'm about to show you is going to shatter every assumption you've ever had about size, distance, and your place in existence itself. The universe isn't just big, it's so incomprehensibly, mind-meltingly enormous that even our most advanced measurements sound like complete fiction. We're talking about distances so extreme that light, the fastest thing in the universe, takes billions of years just to cross tiny fractions of it. And here's the kicker, what we can actually see might be nothing compared to what's really out there. I'm about to take you on a journey that starts in your backyard and ends at the very edge of everything we know exists. Along the way, we're going to discover structures so massive they make our entire galaxy look like a grain of sand. We'll explore the mind-bending reality that the universe might actually be infinite, which means somewhere out there's another version of you watching this exact video. And by the end, you'll understand why some of the smartest people on Earth think we might be living inside something even bigger and stranger than we ever imagined. But before we blast off into the cosmic deep end, let me give you fair warning. This journey is going to mess with your head in ways you're not prepared for. The numbers we're dealing with are so large that mathematicians had to invent new ways to write them down. The concepts are so bizarre that they sound like science fiction, except they're not. They're the cold, hard reality of the universe we actually live in. So, if you've ever wondered just how insignificant you really are, or if you want to experience what it feels like to have your entire worldview completely demolished and rebuilt, then stick around, because what you're about to learn will change how you see everything forever. Let's start with something familiar. Your hometown. Whatever city you're in right now, you probably think of it as pretty big, right? Thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands. Streets stretching for miles in every direction. It feels substantial. It feels real. It feels important. Now let's zoom out just a little bit. Your entire country, with all its cities and landmarks and millions of people, suddenly becomes this tiny patch of land surrounded by vast oceans. Keep zooming out, and Earth itself shrinks to a blue marble floating in the black void of space. Already, your hometown has vanished completely. It's not even a pixel anymore. But we've barely started. Let's talk about our solar system for a second. You know, the sun, the planets, maybe some asteroids. Seems pretty roomy, right? Wrong. If the sun were the size of a basketball sitting in the middle of a football field, Earth would be a grain of sand about 25 yards away. And the edge of our solar system, that would be about 4 miles from the basketball. 4 miles of mostly empty space with a few tiny specks of dust scattered around. That's our entire cosmic neighborhood, the place where every human who has ever lived spent their entire existence. And it's already so small that if you were looking at it from the nearest star, you wouldn't even be able to see it. Now here's where things start getting seriously weird. That nearest star I just mentioned, it's about 4 light years away. Do you know what a light year is? It's the distance light travels in 1 year. Light moves at 186,000 miles per second. In 1 year, that adds up to about 6 trillion miles. So our nearest stellar neighbor is roughly 24 trillion miles away. To put that in perspective, if you could drive a car at highway speeds directly toward that star, it would take you about 30 million years to get there. 30 million years. That's longer than humans have existed on Earth. And that's just to the nearest star. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains somewhere between 200 and 400 billion stars. Most of them are much, much farther away than that nearest one. The galaxy itself is about 100,000 light years across. If you tried to send a text message to someone on the other side of the galaxy, they'd receive it 100,000 years after you sent it. Assuming, of course, that humans still existed by then. But here's what's really going to blow your mind. Are you ready for this? Our galaxy is nothing special. It's not particularly big or small. It's just average. There are galaxies out there that make the Milky Way look pathetic. IC 1101, for example, is about 50 times larger than our galaxy and contains over 100 trillion stars. 100 trillion. That's more stars than there are cells in your body, and we're not done. Not even close. These galaxies aren't just floating around randomly in space. They're organized into groups and clusters. Our Milky Way is part of something called the local group, which contains about 80 galaxies spanning roughly 10 million light years. But even that's small time compared to the massive galaxy clusters out there. The Coma cluster contains over 1,000 galaxies. The Perseus cluster has over 1,300. These clusters are held together by gravity and dark matter, forming structures hundreds of millions of light years across. And guess what? The clusters themselves are organized into even larger structures called superclusters. We're part of the Laniakea supercluster, which contains about 100,000 galaxies spread across 520 million light years. Just to cross from one end to the other, light has to travel for over 500 million years. That means the light leaving one edge of our supercluster today won't reach the other edge until long after our sun has died and the Earth has been reduced to cosmic dust. But wait, there's more. These superclusters aren't the end of the story either. They're connected by vast filaments of dark matter and galaxies, forming what scientists call the cosmic web. Picture the largest structure you can imagine, then imagine it's just one thread in an unimaginably vast spiderweb stretching across the entire observable universe. And speaking of the observable universe, let's talk about that for a minute. When astronomers say observable universe, they don't mean the entire universe. They mean the part we can actually see from Earth. And the edge of what we can observe is about 46.5 billion light years away in every direction. Now, you might be wondering, if the universe is only about 13.8 billion years old, how can we see things that are 46.5 billion light years away? Shouldn't the edge be 13.8 billion light years away? Here's where it gets weird. The universe has been expanding this entire time. So light that started traveling toward us 13.8 billion years ago has been racing to catch up with us while we've been moving away from where it started. By the time that light reaches us, the object that emitted it is now much farther away than it was when the light began its journey. This means the observable universe is a sphere roughly 93 billion light years across, containing an estimated 2 trillion galaxies. 2 trillion, each one potentially containing hundreds of billions of stars, each star potentially hosting planets. The math on this is so staggering that it makes your head spin. But here's the thing that should really keep you up at night. The observable universe might be absolutely tiny compared to the actual universe. We can only see as far as light has had time to travel since the Big Bang. Beyond that edge, there could be infinitely more space, infinitely more galaxies, infinitely more of everything. Some cosmologists think the universe is literally infinite. If that's true, then everything that can happen will happen, an infinite number of times. There would be infinite copies of Earth, infinite copies of you, infinite variations where you made different choices. Somewhere out there, there's a version of you who became a professional athlete, another version who never learned to read, another who invented time travel. And if the universe is infinite, Then there are also regions of space so far away that they operate under completely different physical laws. Places where gravity works backward, where time runs in reverse, where the impossible becomes routine. But even if the universe isn't infinite, it's still probably much, much larger than what we can observe. The most conservative estimates suggest it's at least 250 times larger than the observable universe. That would make it roughly 23 trillion light-years across, containing more galaxies than there are atoms in your body, and we're still not at the biggest scale yet. Some theories suggest our entire universe is just one bubble in an endless multiverse. Each bubble would be a complete universe, with its own Big Bang, its own physical laws, its own infinite expanse of galaxies and stars. There could be universes where the laws of physics are slightly different, where stars never formed, where life never emerged. There could be universes so alien that we don't have words to describe them. Other theories propose that our universe is part of a higher dimensional structure that we can't even perceive. Imagine being a character drawn on a piece of paper, trying to understand the three-dimensional room the paper sits in. That might be us, trying to comprehend a reality that exists in dimensions our brains weren't designed to process. The more we learn about the scale of existence, the more we realize how little we actually know. Every time we think we've found the biggest structure, we discover something even more enormous. Every time we think we understand the limits of reality, those limits get pushed back even further. And here's what makes this even more mind-bending. All of these incomprehensibly vast structures, from galaxy clusters to superclusters to the cosmic web itself, all of it emerged from a region smaller than a proton in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang. Everything you see, everything that exists, all of space and time itself, was once compressed into a point so small it makes atoms look gigantic. The universe didn't just get bigger. It got bigger at a rate that defies comprehension. In the first tiny fraction of a second, it expanded faster than the speed of light, growing from subatomic to cosmic in less time than it takes light to cross a proton. This expansion, known as cosmic inflation, is so extreme that it makes every other example of growth look pathetic by comparison. The fastest growing company in history, nothing. The most explosive volcanic eruption, a gentle sneeze. The expansion of the early universe makes everything else look like it's standing still. But here's where your brain is really going to start hurting. During this period of inflation, different regions of space were expanding away from each other faster than light could travel between them. This means that information couldn't pass from one region to another. They became causally disconnected, like separate universes that could never communicate or influence each other. And this is still happening today. Right now, there are regions of space that are moving away from us so fast that their light will never, ever reach us. No matter how long we wait, no matter how advanced our technology becomes, we will never see what's happening in those places. They might as well not exist as far as we're concerned. This creates what scientists call the cosmic horizon. It's not a physical barrier you could run into, but a fundamental limit to what we can ever know about the universe. Beyond this horizon, there could be anything. Civilizations that have existed for trillions of years. Technologies that seem like magic to us. Entire galactic empires that have risen and fallen without us ever knowing they existed. And the really disturbing part, this horizon is actually shrinking. Due to the accelerating expansion of the universe, driven by something called dark energy, galaxies that we can see today will eventually disappear beyond our cosmic horizon. Future civilizations, billions of years from now, will see a much emptier universe than we do. They might conclude that their galaxy is alone in a vast, dark cosmos. Speaking of dark energy, Let's talk about what the universe is actually made of. You might think it's mostly stars and planets and the stuff you can see. Wrong again. All the matter that makes up stars, planets, people, everything you've ever touched or seen or interacted with represents less than 5% of the universe. About 27% is dark matter, a mysterious substance that doesn't emit light or interact with regular matter in any way we can detect, except through gravity. We know it's there because we can see its gravitational effects on galaxies and galaxy clusters, but we have no idea what it actually is. The remaining 68% of the universe is dark energy, something even more mysterious than dark matter. Dark energy is what's driving the accelerating expansion of space itself. It's literally pulling the universe apart, and we don't have the faintest clue what it is or where it comes from. So let me get this straight. We live in a universe where 95% of everything is completely unknown to us. We're like ants trying to understand the internet. We can observe some of its effects, but the fundamental nature of reality is completely beyond our comprehension, and it gets weirder. Some physicists think our universe might be a hologram, not metaphorically, but literally. According to the holographic principle, all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary. This would mean that our three-dimensional reality is actually just a projection from a two-dimensional surface at the edge of the universe. Other theories suggest we're living in a computer simulation run by some advanced civilization. If computational power continues to grow exponentially, future civilizations might be able to simulate entire universes, complete with conscious beings who have no idea they're living in a simulation. Statistically speaking, if this is possible, there would be many more simulated universes than real ones, making it more likely that we're living in a simulation than in base reality. Then there's the possibility that our universe is just one membrane floating in a higher dimensional space called the bulk. These membranes could collide with each other, creating big bangs and spawning new universes. Our entire reality might be the result of a cosmic fender bender in dimensions we can't even perceive. But let's bring this back down to Earth for a moment, or at least try to. Even if we ignore all the speculative physics and stick to what we can actually observe, the scale is still beyond human comprehension. The observable universe contains roughly 10 to the power of 80 atoms. That's a 1 followed by 80 zeros. To write that number out in full, you'd need more paper than exists on Earth. And remember, that's just the atoms we can see. If the universe is infinite, then the total number of atoms is literally infinite. There's no end to them. They just keep going forever in every direction. This has profound implications for the nature of existence itself. In an infinite universe with infinite atoms arranged in every possible way, every possible arrangement must occur somewhere. There are only so many ways you can arrange atoms in a human-sized volume of space. Once you've exhausted all the possibilities, you have to start repeating. This means that in an infinite universe, there are infinite exact copies of you. Not just similar people, but perfect atomic duplicates, living identical lives on identical Earths, orbiting identical suns in identical galaxies. And there are also infinite variations, where just one atom is different, or where you made one different choice, or where history unfolded slightly differently. There's a version of you who became president, another who never learned to walk, one who was born in ancient Rome, another who will be born 1 trillion years from now, when the stars have all burned out and the universe is cold and dark. If this is true, then everything that has ever happened or ever could happen is happening right now, somewhere in the infinite expanse of space. Every story that was never told, every song that was never sung, every love that was never found, all of it exists somewhere in the vast cosmic library of infinite possibility. But here's what might be the most unsettling thought of all. If the universe is infinite, then not only does everything possible happen, but everything impossible happens too. There are regions of space where the laws of physics break down completely, places where effects precede causes, where objects exist in multiple places simultaneously, where consciousness emerges from pure mathematics. There are universes within our universe that operate according to rules so alien that calling them universes is meaningless. Pocket dimensions where time flows backward, where space has negative curvature, where the very concept of existence has a completely different meaning. And all of this, every impossible thing you can imagine and infinite things you can't imagine, all of it might be happening right now, in the unimaginably vast space that surrounds our tiny, insignificant corner of reality. The question isn't how big the universe is. The question is whether there's any meaningful difference between infinity and the kind of bigness that our universe represents. Whether finite or infinite, the universe is so large that it might as well be infinite from any human perspective. We are less than specks of dust in this cosmic immensity. We are temporary fluctuations in an ocean of space and time so vast that our entire species will rise and fall without making the tiniest ripple in the cosmic order. And yet, somehow, impossibly, we are here. We are conscious. We are aware of our place in this infinite expanse, and we can think about it, measure it, and try to understand it. That awareness, that consciousness, might be the most remarkable thing in the entire universe. Think about it. Out of all the countless atoms swirling through space, out of all the dead rocks and burning gas giants and cold, empty voids, somehow matter organized itself in such a way that it could look back at itself and wonder about its own existence. You are literally the universe becoming self-aware. The carbon in your body was forged in the nuclear furnaces of dying stars. The oxygen you breathe was created when massive suns exploded billions of years ago. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the phosphorus in your DNA, all of it was scattered across space by cosmic catastrophes and then slowly collected by gravity into the planet beneath your feet. You are not separate from the universe looking in. You are the universe looking at itself through temporary arrangements of its own atoms. And when you contemplate the vastness of space, you are engaging in the most extraordinary act possible, cosmic matter, contemplating its own cosmic context. But here's where the scale becomes not just mind-bending, but genuinely disturbing. Let's talk about what happens when we try to map the actual structure of the universe we can observe. Remember those superclusters I mentioned? Well, they're organized into something even larger called the cosmic web. And when you see it visualized, it looks eerily familiar. Picture the neural networks in your brain. Now picture the largest structures in the universe. They look almost identical. Vast filaments of matter connected at nodes, with enormous voids in between. It's as if the universe is organized like a gigantic brain, with galaxies clustered along cosmic neurons spanning billions of light years. This similarity might be more than just coincidence. Some scientists think consciousness and cosmic structure might be connected in ways we don't understand yet. Maybe the universe isn't just big, maybe it's actually thinking. Maybe we're thoughts in a cosmic mind so vast that our entire civilization flickers into existence and dies out in what would be a nanosecond of cosmic contemplation. And if that doesn't mess with your head enough, let's talk about the edge problem. We know the observable universe has a boundary, the cosmic horizon beyond which we can't see. But what happens at that boundary? What's on the other side? Here's the thing that keeps cosmologists awake at night. That boundary isn't a wall or a surface or anything physical. It's just the limit of how far light has had time to travel since the Big Bang. Beyond it, space probably just continues. More galaxies, more clusters, more superclusters, stretching on and on without end. But here's the truly disturbing part. If space is infinite, then the cosmic web we see, that brain-like structure spanning the observable universe, is just one tiny piece of an infinitely larger pattern. Imagine trying to understand a human brain by looking at just one synapse. That might be what we're doing when we study the cosmos. There could be structures out there so large that our entire observable universe is like a single neuron in an incomprehensibly vast cosmic mind. Patterns and connections and thoughts happening on scales that make our galaxy clusters look like subatomic particles. And if the universe is truly infinite, then this pattern repeats forever. Infinite cosmic brains thinking infinite cosmic thoughts, with smaller brains like ours embedded within them, and even smaller structures embedded within us. It's consciousness all the way up and all the way down. An endless hierarchy of awareness operating on every conceivable scale. But let's get even weirder. Remember how I mentioned that light from distant galaxies takes billions of years to reach us? This means when we look at distant objects, we're not seeing them as they are now, we're seeing them as they were in the past. The farther away something is, the farther back in time we're seeing it. This creates what astronomers call the light cone, a boundary in space-time that defines what we can possibly know about the universe at any given moment. But here's the trippy part. As time passes, this light cone expands. We can see farther and farther into space, which means we can see farther and farther into the past. In theory, if we had perfect instruments and infinite patience, we could eventually see light from objects so distant that we'd be observing the universe as it was just moments after the Big Bang. We could literally watch the universe being born, see the first stars forming, witness the early galaxies taking shape. But there's a catch. The universe is expanding, and that expansion is accelerating. This means that while we can theoretically see farther back in time, objects that we can see today will eventually disappear from view as they get carried away by the expansion of space itself. Future astronomers, trillions of years from now, will inhabit a much lonelier cosmos. They'll see only their local group of galaxies, with everything else having disappeared beyond their cosmic horizon. They might conclude that their small cluster of galaxies is all that exists, unaware of the vast cosmic web that we can see today. This raises a profound question. What are we missing right now? What structures, what patterns, what cosmic phenomena exist just beyond our current observational limits? Are we like those future astronomers, thinking we see the whole picture when we're actually missing the vast majority of reality? The answer is almost certainly yes. Every time we build better telescopes, we discover that the universe is stranger and more complex than we imagined. We found galaxies, then galaxy clusters, then superclusters, then the cosmic web. Each discovery revealed structures larger and more organized than we thought possible. There's no reason to think we've reached the end of this progression. There are probably cosmic structures out there that dwarf superclusters, the way superclusters dwarf galaxies. Patterns and organizations that we can't even conceive of because they operate on scales beyond our ability to observe or comprehend. And here's what makes this even more mind-bending. According to our current understanding of physics, information can't travel faster than light, this beyond these causal horizons relative to us. Their universe is so large that most of it exists which events can't influence each other, but that creates what physicists call causal horizons. Boundaries beyond are regions of space where entire galactic civilizations could rise and fall, where wars could be fought across solar systems, where technologies could be developed that would seem like magic to us, and none of it would ever affect us or even be detectable by us. We exist in a kind of cosmic isolation, surrounded by an infinity of events and phenomena that we can never interact with or even know about. It's like being locked in a soundproof room while infinite orchestras play infinite symphonies all around you. This isolation isn't just physical, it's temporal too. The universe has existed for 13.8 billion years, but human civilization is only about 10,000 years old. We've been looking at the stars with telescopes for only about 400 years. We've known that other galaxies exist for less than a century. In cosmic terms, we just opened our eyes a microsecond ago. We're cosmic infants trying to understand an ancient and vast reality that has been evolving for eons before we existed and will continue evolving for eons after we're gone. And the rate of cosmic evolution is staggering. In the time it takes you to read this sentence, the universe will have expanded by millions of miles in every direction. New stars will have formed, others will have died. Entire planetary systems will have been born or destroyed. The cosmic web will have shifted and evolved in ways that would be noticeable if we had instruments sensitive enough to detect them. We're not just living in a vast universe, we're living in a universe that's changing and growing and evolving at every moment. The cosmos you inhabit right now is different from the cosmos that existed when you started reading this. Space itself has expanded, carrying distant galaxies farther away, creating new volumes of empty space filled with dark energy. This expansion isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Dark energy, that mysterious force that makes up most of the universe, is pushing space apart faster and faster. Eventually, this acceleration will tear apart everything we see. First, galaxy clusters will lose their gravitational grip on their member galaxies. Then, individual galaxies will be ripped apart as space expands faster than gravity can hold them together. Finally, even atoms themselves might be torn apart if the acceleration continues to increase. This scenario, called the Big Rip, would literally tear the fabric of reality to shreds, leaving nothing but isolated subatomic particles scattered across an infinitely expanding void. But that's trillions of years in the future. For now, we exist in a brief moment of cosmic history, when the universe is just the right age and size for complexity to emerge. We live in what cosmologists call the stelliferous era, the age of stars, when nuclear fusion can still power the cosmic lighthouses that make life possible. This era won't last forever. Eventually, all the hydrogen in the universe will be consumed, and no new stars will be able to form. The existing stars will burn out one by one, leaving behind only white dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes. The universe will enter the degenerate era, a dark age lasting countless trillions of years. Even the black holes will eventually evaporate through Hawking radiation, leaving behind a cold, empty universe containing nothing but elementary particles and photons scattered across infinite space. This final era, called the heat death, will last for an unimaginably long time, possibly forever. But here's the thing that should give you pause. Despite the incredible vastness of space and the almost infinite duration of cosmic time, despite the fact that our existence represents the tiniest possible fraction of reality, we are here. Against all odds, in defiance of the cosmic tendency toward disorder and emptiness, consciousness has emerged. Not only that, but consciousness has emerged in the one brief cosmic moment when it's possible to see and understand the universe. We exist at exactly the right time to observe the cosmic web, to see distant galaxies, to understand our place in the vast scheme of things. If we had emerged earlier in cosmic history, the universe would have been too hot and chaotic for complex observations. If we emerge much later, the universe will be too dark and empty, with all the distant galaxies having disappeared beyond our horizon. We live in the one narrow window of cosmic time when intelligence can arise and contemplate the full scope of reality. That seems like an incredible coincidence. Or maybe it's not a coincidence at all. Maybe consciousness and cosmos are connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. Some physicists think consciousness might be a fundamental feature of reality, like mass or electric charge. In this view, awareness isn't something that emerges from complex arrangements of matter, but something that exists at every level of organization, from quantum particles to galactic clusters to the universe as a whole. If that's true, then you're not just temporary arrangements of atoms contemplating the cosmos. You're the cosmos contemplating itself through temporary arrangements of atoms. Your thoughts and dreams and questions about the universe might literally be the universe thinking about itself. And if consciousness is fundamental to reality, then the size of the universe takes on a completely different meaning. It's not just a measure of space and time and matter. It's a measure of the scope of cosmic awareness, the depth of universal self-reflection, the scale of existence examining itself. The universe might be infinite, not just in space, but in consciousness. Every possible thought, every conceivable dream, every imaginable question might exist somewhere in the vast expanse of cosmic awareness. Your consciousness might be one small part of an infinite cosmic mind, connected to every other conscious being across space and time. This brings us to something that will completely shatter your perception of reality. We've been talking about the universe as if it's this one massive structure, but what if I told you that everything we've discussed so far, every galaxy cluster, every supercluster, the entire cosmic web spanning 93 billion light years, might just be one tiny bubble floating in an ocean of infinite other universes? Welcome to the multiverse. And trust me, this is where things get absolutely insane. Think about soap bubbles floating in the air. Each bubble is complete and self-contained, with its own surface tension and internal pressure. Now imagine each bubble is an entire universe, complete with its own Big Bang, its own physical laws, its own galaxies and stars, and possibly its own forms of life. And instead of just a few bubbles, there are infinite bubbles, constantly forming and popping and reforming in a cosmic foam that has no beginning and no end. This isn't science fiction. This is a serious scientific hypothesis called eternal inflation, and it emerges naturally from our best theories about how the universe began. Remember that period right after the Big Bang when space expanded faster than light? Well, according to some models, that expansion never really stopped everywhere. It only stopped in certain regions, like our observable universe, while continuing forever in others. Each region where inflation stops becomes a bubble universe with its own unique properties. The laws of physics might be different in each bubble. Gravity might be stronger or weaker. The electromagnetic force might work differently. Some universes might never form atoms. Others might be so unstable they collapse immediately after forming. But here's where it gets really mind-bending. If there are infinite universes with every possible combination of physical laws, then there must be universes almost identical to ours. Universes where Earth formed, where life evolved, where human civilization developed, but with tiny differences. There's a universe where you wore a different shirt today, another where you chose a different career, one where you were never born, another where you became the most important person in human history. The mathematics of infinity guarantees that every possible variation exists somewhere in the cosmic multiverse. And we're talking about more than just personal variations. There are universes where dinosaurs never went extinct, where humans evolved from different ancestors, where the entire history of Earth unfolded completely differently. There are universes where our solar system has different planets, where our galaxy has a different shape, where the cosmic web formed entirely different patterns. But it gets even stranger than that. In some of these universes, the fundamental constants of nature are so different that matter as we know it can't exist. Instead of atoms, there might be entirely different kinds of particles following entirely different rules. Instead of chemistry, there might be processes so alien that we don't even have concepts to describe them. Imagine a universe where space has more than 3 dimensions that we can actually perceive and move through. Imagine a universe where time flows backward, or where multiple timelines exist simultaneously. Imagine a universe where consciousness is a physical force like gravity or electromagnetism, where thoughts have mass and dreams can reshape reality. All of these possibilities, and infinite others that we can't even conceive of, would exist somewhere in the infinite multiverse. And here's the really disturbing part. If the multiverse is infinite, then not only does everything possible happen, but everything impossible happens too. There are universes where the laws of logic break down, where contradictions can be simultaneously true and false, where cause and effect operate in ways that would drive us insane if we tried to understand them. There are universes where mathematics itself works differently, where 2 + 2 = 5, where infinity has a largest number. The multiverse doesn't just contain every possible universe, it contains every impossible universe too. Every nightmare scenario you can imagine, every utopian dream, every logical contradiction, every violation of everything we think we know about reality, all of it exists somewhere in the infinite expanse of cosmic possibility. And if that's not enough to keep you awake at night, consider this. We have absolutely no way to test whether the multiverse exists. By definition, other universes are completely isolated from ours. No information can pass between them. No evidence of their existence can ever reach us. This means the multiverse might be the ultimate unknowable truth. It might be the most important fact about reality, and we might never be able to prove it. We could be living in a tiny corner of an infinite cosmic structure that dwarfs our universe the way our universe dwarfs an atom, and we'd never know. But let's zoom back into our own universe for a moment, because even without the multiverse, the scale of what we can observe is already beyond human comprehension. Let's talk about something called the Great Attractor. About 150 million light years away, there's something massive enough to pull our entire galaxy, along with thousands of other galaxies, toward it at over 1.3 million miles per hour. We can't see what it is because it's hidden behind the plane of our own galaxy, but its gravitational influence is undeniable. This invisible monster is dragging the Milky Way and everything around it through space like cosmic debris caught in a gravitational whirlpool, and it's not alone. There are other massive structures out there, pulling and pushing on the cosmic web in ways we're only beginning to understand. The Shapley supercluster, containing over 8,000 galaxies, is so massive that it influences the motion of matter across hundreds of millions of light years. The cold spot in the cosmic microwave background might be evidence of a cosmic void so enormous that it creates a gravitational shadow affecting the entire observable universe. These structures are so large that they challenge our understanding of how the universe could have formed them in the time since the Big Bang. According to our models, gravity shouldn't have had enough time to pull matter together into such massive configurations. Yet there they are, sprawling across space like cosmic monuments to forces we don't yet comprehend. And here's what makes this even more mysterious. These structures might be just the beginning. There could be even larger patterns, even more massive organizations of matter and energy, operating on scales that make superclusters look like sand grains. Some scientists think the cosmic web itself might be just one level in a hierarchy of structures that extends far beyond what we can currently observe. There might be superclusters and hyperstructures and organizations of matter so vast that our entire observable universe is like a single cell in a cosmic organism. This brings us to one of the most disturbing implications of cosmic scale: the possibility that we're not at the top of the intelligence hierarchy. If consciousness can emerge from the complex organization of matter in human brains, and if the universe contains structures billions of times more complex than human brains, then there might be forms of intelligence out there that are as far beyond us as we are beyond bacteria. Imagine a consciousness that uses entire galaxies as neurons, that thinks thoughts spanning millions of years, that processes information on scales we can't even conceive of. Such a being might be aware of us the way we're aware of the microbes in our bloodstream, if at all. And if the universe is infinite, then such cosmic intelligences not only could exist, they must exist. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, matter has organized itself into every possible configuration, including configurations that give rise to godlike beings with capabilities that would seem like pure magic to us. These cosmic minds might be manipulating space and time itself, creating and destroying universes as easily as we create and delete computer files. They might be so advanced that our entire reality is just a simulation, running on their cosmic computers, a hypothesis that some scientists take seriously. But here's what's really unsettling. If such beings exist, they're probably as confused about the ultimate nature of reality as we are. No matter how intelligent, no matter how advanced, consciousness is still embedded within the universe it's trying to understand. Even cosmic gods would be limited by the same fundamental constraints that limit us. They might build telescopes the size of solar systems to peer deeper into space. They might manipulate black holes to create computational devices more powerful than anything we can imagine. They might even learn to step outside our universe entirely, exploring other dimensions or other realities. But they would still face the same basic mystery that we face. Why does anything exist at all? Why are there laws of physics rather than no laws? Why is there something rather than nothing? These questions might be unanswerable, not because we lack sufficient intelligence or technology, but because they probe the very foundations of existence itself. Even infinite intelligence might bump up against the fundamental mystery of being. And that brings us to perhaps the most profound implication of cosmic scale. The universe isn't just big in space and time, it's big in mystery. The more we learn, the more we discover how much we don't know. Every answer raises new questions. Every discovery reveals new depths of ignorance. We've mapped the cosmic web, but we don't know what dark matter is. We've measured the expansion of space, but we don't know what dark energy is. We've detected gravitational waves, but we don't understand what happened before the Big Bang. We've found thousands of exoplanets, but we don't know if we're alone in the universe. The scale of our ignorance grows along with the scale of our knowledge. And if the universe is truly infinite, then our ignorance might be infinite too. There might be infinite mysteries, infinite questions, infinite depths of reality that no intelligence, no matter how vast, can ever fully comprehend. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the universe is constructed in such a way that consciousness always has something new to discover, something more to explore, something deeper to understand. Maybe the infinite scale of reality ensures that curiosity and wonder never become obsolete. In a finite universe, even a very large one, intelligence might eventually map every star, catalogue every particle, solve every equation. But in an infinite universe, there's always more. Always another galaxy to explore, another dimension to discover, another mystery to unravel. And so we find ourselves in the most remarkable possible situation. We're conscious beings in a universe so vast that it guarantees infinite adventure, infinite discovery, infinite opportunities for growth and understanding. We're participants in a cosmic story so big that it can never be completely told, so complex that it can never be completely understood, so beautiful that it can never be completely appreciated. The universe isn't just big, it's bigger than big. It's so immense that it transcends all our categories of size and scale and meaning. It's infinite, not just in space, but in possibility, in mystery, in the potential for consciousness to explore and understand and wonder. And you, sitting there right now, contemplating these cosmic scales, you're part of it all. You're not separate from this infinite reality. You're woven into its very fabric. The atoms in your body have been part of this cosmic dance for billions of years before you were born, and they'll continue dancing for billions of years after you're gone. But right now, in this moment, those atoms are arranged in such a way that they can think about themselves and their place in the cosmic story. You are the universe becoming self-aware, matter learning to contemplate its own existence, consciousness emerging from the infinite complexity of cosmic evolution. The question isn't just how big the universe is. The question is how big consciousness can become, how far awareness can expand, how deeply understanding can penetrate into the infinite mystery of existence itself. And that's a question that might take forever to answer, which is perfect, because if the universe is truly infinite, we have forever to explore it. But even that cosmic perspective, mind-bending as it is, barely scratches the surface of what we're dealing with. Because there's something about the nature of space itself that's going to completely demolish everything you think you understand about reality. You see, when we talk about the universe being big, we usually think about it like a container, like space is this empty box, and all the galaxies and stars are objects sitting inside it. But that's completely wrong. Space isn't a container holding things. Space is a thing itself. It's a dynamic, evolving, shape-shifting fabric that's constantly changing in ways that defy every intuition you have about how reality should work. Right now, as you're sitting there, space itself is expanding. Not just the things in space moving apart, but the actual distances between points in space are getting larger. It's like someone is stretching the grid of reality itself, making every measurement bigger without anything actually moving through space. This expansion is happening everywhere, all at once. Between your eyes and this screen, space is expanding, but the expansion is so tiny over such short distances that it's completely overwhelmed by the electromagnetic forces holding atoms together. But on cosmic scales, this expansion dominates everything. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. This expansion isn't slowing down like you'd expect if it were caused by some initial explosion. It's accelerating. Something is actively pushing space apart, and that something makes up most of the universe. We call it dark energy, but that's just a fancy way of saying we have absolutely no idea what this is. Imagine if you discovered that most of your house was made of some invisible material that you couldn't see, touch, or detect in any way except by watching how it affected the furniture. That's where we are with dark energy. It's everywhere. It's the dominant component of reality, and we're completely clueless about its fundamental nature. But dark energy isn't even the weirdest part. Let's talk about what happens when space expands so much that it breaks causality itself. Remember how I mentioned that some regions of space are moving away from us faster than light? This creates something called a cosmological horizon. Beyond this horizon, events literally cannot affect us, no matter how long we wait. It's not just that we can't see what's happening there. It's that what happens there exists in a completely separate causal universe from ours. Think about what this means. Right now, there are probably civilizations out there that have been trying to send us messages for millions of years. They might have built transmitters the size of planets, broadcasting signals that contain the secrets of faster-than-light travel, the cure for aging, the meaning of existence itself. But those signals will never reach us because the space between us and them is expanding faster than their signals can travel. We exist in a bubble of causality, surrounded by an infinity of events that might as well be happening in a completely different reality. And this bubble is actually shrinking. Due to the accelerating expansion, galaxies that we can interact with today will eventually disappear beyond our horizon forever. Future beings, trillions of years from now, will inhabit a much lonelier cosmos. They'll see only their local cluster of galaxies, with everything else having vanished beyond the edge of the observable. They might conclude that their small collection of stars is all that exists, completely unaware of the vast cosmic web that we can see today. But here's what should really mess with your head. We might be in the same situation right now. There might be structures, patterns, entire categories of cosmic phenomena that existed in the past but have already disappeared beyond our horizon. We might be like those future astronomers, thinking we see the whole picture when we're actually missing the vast majority of what's really out there. And it gets worse. Some models suggest that the accelerating expansion will eventually tear apart everything we see. First, galaxy clusters will lose their grip on their member galaxies. Then, individual galaxies will be ripped apart as space expands faster than gravity can hold them together. Eventually, even atoms themselves might be torn to shreds if the acceleration continues to increase. This scenario, called the Big Rip, would literally destroy the fabric of reality itself. But even if we avoid that fate, the universe is still heading toward a cold, dark future where all the stars burn out, all the black holes evaporate, and nothing remains but elementary particles scattered across infinite space. Yet somehow, against all odds, in this brief cosmic moment when complexity is possible, consciousness has emerged to contemplate its own existence. We are living in the tiny sliver of cosmic time when intelligence can arise and understand the universe. Before this epoch, the cosmos was too hot and chaotic. After this epoch, it will be too cold and empty. The fact that conscious beings exist at exactly the right time to observe and understand the cosmic web seems like an incredible coincidence, unless it's not a coincidence at all. Some physicists think consciousness might be written into the fundamental laws of reality. That awareness isn't something that accidentally emerged from complex chemistry, but something that exists at every scale of organization, from quantum particles to galactic superclusters to the universe itself. If that's true, then when you contemplate the vastness of space, you're not separate from it looking in. You're the cosmos examining itself through temporary arrangements of its own atoms. Your thoughts about infinity might literally be infinity thinking about itself. And if consciousness is fundamental to reality, then the universe might be infinite, not just in space and time, but in awareness. Every possible thought, every conceivable experience, every imaginable form of consciousness might exist somewhere in the vast expanse of cosmic mind. But let's push this even further into the realm of the truly bizarre. What if our entire universe, with all its galaxies and dark energy and cosmic horizons, is actually just one small part of something even more incomprehensibly vast? This brings us to the holographic principle, one of the strangest ideas in modern physics. According to this theory, all the information contained in a volume of space can actually be encoded on its boundary. It's like how a hologram on a credit card contains a three-dimensional image, but all the information is actually stored on a two-dimensional surface. If the holographic principle is correct, then our three-dimensional reality might be a projection from information encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the edge of the universe. Everything you've ever experienced, every star you've ever seen, every thought you've ever had, might be shadows cast by patterns of information existing in fewer dimensions than you can perceive. But that's not even the most mind-bending possibility. Some theories suggest that our universe might be a membrane floating in a higher dimensional space called the bulk. These membranes could collide with each other, creating big bangs and spawning new universes. Our entire reality might be the result of a cosmic collision in dimensions we can't even imagine. Other models propose that we're living inside a black hole that exists in a higher dimensional universe. From our perspective, we see an expanding cosmos with a Big Bang beginning. But from the outside, we might just be information falling into a black hole, stretched and distorted by extreme gravitational fields. Then there's the simulation hypothesis, which suggests that our entire universe might be a computer program running on some advanced civilization's technology. If computational power continues to grow exponentially, future civilizations might be able to simulate entire universes, complete with conscious beings who have no idea they're living in a simulation. Statistically speaking, if this is possible, there would be many more simulated universes than real ones. This makes it more likely that we're living in a simulation than in what we might call base reality. Every star you see, every galaxy we've discovered, every measurement we've made of cosmic expansion, all of it might be code running on some unimaginably advanced computer. And here's the truly disturbing part. There's no way to definitively prove that we're not in a simulation. Any evidence we gather, any experiment we perform, any observation we make could be part of the programmed reality. We could be digital beings in a digital universe, thinking we're studying the cosmos when we're actually just examining the parameters of our own software. But whether we're real or simulated, whether we exist in base reality or in some higher dimensional projection, the scale of what we're contemplating remains staggering. Even if our universe is just a simulation, something had to create the computer running that simulation. And that something exists in a reality that's probably even more vast and complex than what we observe. This creates an infinite regression of possibilities. Maybe we're simulations running on computers that are themselves simulations, running on even more advanced computers. Maybe reality is nested simulations all the way up, with each level thinking it's the real one, while actually being a program in something even larger. Or maybe the nesting goes in both directions. Maybe we're simultaneously running simulations of our own, creating digital universes populated by conscious beings who think their reality is fundamental. Maybe consciousness and simulation are fractal patterns that repeat at every scale, with minds creating minds in an endless hierarchy of awareness. This fractal nature of reality might extend to the physical structure of the universe as well. We've seen how the cosmic web resembles neural networks, how galaxy clusters look like brain cells connected by vast filaments. What if this similarity isn't coincidental? What if consciousness and cosmic structure are the same phenomenon operating at different scales? Maybe every conscious being is a tiny universe, and every universe is a conscious being. Maybe the thoughts in your head are galaxies in a microscopic cosmos, and maybe our cosmic web is a thought in some unimaginably vast mind. If that's true, then the question of how big the universe is becomes meaningless. Size becomes relative. Scale becomes arbitrary. What matters isn't the absolute dimensions of reality, but the patterns and relationships that exist at every level of organization. And those patterns might be infinite in their complexity. No matter how deeply we zoom in or how far we zoom out, we might always find new levels of structure, new forms of organization, new types of consciousness emerging from the endless dance of matter and energy and information. This infinite complexity might be why the universe appears fine-tuned for consciousness. It's not that the physical constants were carefully adjusted to allow for life. It's that consciousness is inevitable in any sufficiently complex system, and complexity is inevitable in any sufficiently large universe. We don't exist because the universe was designed for us. We exist because the universe is so vast and so rich in possibility that every conceivable form of organization must eventually emerge somewhere. Consciousness isn't rare or special or unlikely. It's the natural result of matter and energy interacting across cosmic scales and cosmic time. But even this perspective, mind-expanding as it is, might be missing something fundamental about the nature of reality. Because there's one more possibility that dwarfs everything we've discussed so far. What if size itself is an illusion? What if space and time and matter and energy are all just different ways of describing something more fundamental that doesn't have extension or duration or mass? Some theories in quantum gravity suggest that space-time emerges from more basic structures that exist outside our normal concepts of size and scale. These structures might be purely mathematical, pure information, pure consciousness, or something so alien that we don't have words for it. In this view, asking how big the universe is would be like asking how heavy the color blue is, or how loud the number 7 sounds. The question assumes categories that don't apply to the fundamental nature of reality. Maybe the universe isn't big or small. Maybe it just is. And bigness and smallness are concepts that only make sense from within the illusion of space-time. Maybe when we contemplate cosmic scales, we're like characters in a video game, trying to understand the computer that's running their world. The computer doesn't exist in the same space as the game. It doesn't have a size that can be compared to objects within the game. It's a different category of existence entirely. If our universe is something like that, then all our measurements of cosmic distance, all our calculations of cosmic age, all our theories about cosmic structure might be missing the point entirely. We might be trying to understand something infinite and eternal and dimensionless using tools that only work within the finite temporal dimensional reality we experience. But here's the beautiful paradox. Even if we can never understand the true nature of reality, the very act of trying changes us. When you contemplate the possibility that the universe is infinite, something infinite awakens within your own consciousness. When you consider that reality might be fundamentally mysterious, you become comfortable with mystery. When you realize that your existence is both infinitely small and infinitely significant, you step outside the normal categories of importance and insignificance. You become something new, something that can hold contradictions without breaking, something that can face infinity without despair. And maybe that transformation is the whole point. Maybe the universe isn't just big to humble us or to make us feel small. Maybe it's big to expand our consciousness, to force us to grow beyond our normal limitations, to become beings capable of contemplating infinity and finding joy rather than terror in the prospect. Because here's the final twist in this cosmic story. You're not just observing the universe from the outside, you're participating in its evolution from the inside. Every time you contemplate cosmic scale, every time you stretch your mind to encompass infinity, every time you feel awe at the vastness of existence, you're adding something new to the universe. You're not just matter contemplating matter. You're the universe becoming more conscious of itself, more aware of its own infinite depths, more capable of appreciating its own beauty and mystery and complexity. And if consciousness really is fundamental to reality, then your thoughts about cosmic scale might actually be shaping that scale. Your awareness of infinity might be helping to create infinity. Your appreciation of cosmic beauty might be adding to that beauty. In contemplating how big the universe is, you're not just measuring something external to yourself. You're participating in the universe's ongoing project of understanding and creating and expanding itself. You're both the question and the answer, both the observer and the observed, both finite and infinite simultaneously. And that paradox, that impossible combination of limitations and boundlessness, might be the most accurate description we can give of what it means to exist in a universe whose size transcends all our attempts to measure it. The universe isn't just big, it's bigger than the concept of bigness itself. And somehow, impossibly, you're big enough to contain that understanding, even if you can never fully grasp it. That makes you, in your own way, as infinite as the cosmos itself. And maybe that's the real answer to how big the universe is. It's exactly as big as consciousness can stretch to encompass it. And consciousness, it turns out, might have no limits at all. But let's step back from all this abstract theorizing and confront something that will make your skin crawl. We've been talking about infinite space and eternal time, as if they're just really big numbers. But infinity isn't just a big number. It's not a number at all, it's something that breaks mathematics itself. When mathematicians first started working with infinity, they discovered it behaves in ways that violate everything we think we know about quantity and measurement. If you have an infinite set of objects and you remove half of them, you still have infinity left. If you double an infinite set, it's still the same size as the original. If you have infinite universes and infinite copies of yourself, then you plus infinity copies of you still equals the same infinity. This means that in an infinite universe, every event that can happen doesn't just happen once. It happens infinitely many times. Right now, there are infinite versions of you reading these words, but there are also infinite versions of you who stopped reading, infinite versions who never started, infinite versions who don't exist at all because Earth never formed. And here's where infinity becomes genuinely disturbing. In an infinite universe, every possible variation must occur not just once, but infinitely often. This includes variations that seem impossible or contradictory. There are infinite universes where the laws of physics are different, but also infinite universes where the laws of physics are the same, but somehow produce impossible results. There are regions of space where your exact atomic configuration exists, but with one crucial difference. In those places, the impossible is routine. Objects fall upward, time runs backward, effects precede causes, and consciousness exists without any physical substrate at all. If space is truly infinite, then somewhere out there, there's a perfect replica of Earth, where everything is identical except that gravity repels instead of attracts. The physics should make this impossible, but in an infinite universe, impossibility becomes just another category of event that must occur somewhere. This creates what philosophers call the measure problem. If everything happens infinitely often, how do you calculate probabilities? How do you determine what's normal versus what's exceptional when every exception occurs infinite times. Traditional logic breaks down completely. In an infinite universe, it's simultaneously true that you're incredibly common and incredibly rare. There are infinite copies of you, making your existence utterly mundane. But there are also infinite copies of every other possible person, making your specific configuration vanishingly unlikely. You exist in infinite variations, but you also exist in exactly this form infinitely many times. Every choice you've ever made has been made differently by infinite other versions of you. Every possibility you've ever imagined has been realized somewhere in the cosmic expanse. But here's what makes this even more unsettling. If the universe is infinite in space, it might also be infinite in time. Not just eternal into the future, but eternal into the past as well. This would mean there was no beginning, no Big Bang, no first moment when everything started. Instead, the universe has always existed, constantly evolving, constantly changing, but never beginning and never ending. Every event that has ever occurred has already happened infinite times before and will happen infinite times again. Your birth, your life, your death, all of it has played out countless times already in the infinite past, and it will replay countless times in the infinite future. You're not living your life for the first time. You've lived it before, infinite times, in infinite variations. This eternal recurrence means that nothing you do is truly unique or unprecedented. Every word you speak has been spoken before by infinite previous versions of you. Every thought you think has already been thought. Every discovery you might make has already been discovered infinite times over. But the flip side is equally true. Nothing you do is meaningless or insignificant. Every action you take happens infinite times, creating infinite consequences, rippling through infinite futures. Your choices don't matter because they've all been made before, but they matter infinitely because they're being made infinite times. This paradox extends to consciousness itself. In an infinite universe with infinite time, every possible configuration of matter must eventually occur. This includes configurations identical to your brain, experiencing identical thoughts, feeling identical emotions. There are infinite copies of your consciousness scattered across space and time. But are they really copies, or are they all the same consciousness experiencing itself from infinite perspectives? If two brains are absolutely identical down to the quantum level, having identical thoughts and memories, are they separate beings or one being experiencing multiplicity? The question becomes even stranger when you consider quantum mechanics. According to some interpretations, consciousness might not be localized to a specific brain or body. Instead, it might be a field that exists everywhere, temporarily focusing itself through complex arrangements of matter. If that's true, then your consciousness isn't confined to your skull. It's a pattern that can emerge anywhere in the universe where the right conditions exist. And in an infinite universe, those conditions exist everywhere, infinitely often. This means you might not be experiencing reality from just one perspective. You might be experiencing it from infinite perspectives simultaneously, living infinite lives as infinite versions of yourself across infinite space and time. But your finite awareness can only access one perspective at a time, creating the illusion that you're a single, isolated consciousness when you're actually part of an infinite network of awareness, exploring every possible variation of existence. This network might extend beyond just copies of you. If consciousness is truly fundamental to reality, then every conscious being might be connected at some deeper level. Your awareness, my awareness, the awareness of every human who has ever lived, the awareness of any alien intelligences that might exist. All of it might be aspects of one cosmic consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. From this perspective, the question of how big the universe is becomes a question of how big consciousness is. And if consciousness is infinite, then the universe is infinite not just in space and time, but in awareness itself. Every possible experience, every conceivable thought, every imaginable emotion exists somewhere in the infinite expanse of cosmic consciousness. You're not just aware of the universe, you're the universe becoming aware of itself through one specific arrangement of matter and energy. But even this cosmic perspective might be limiting. What if consciousness doesn't just exist within the universe, but actually creates the universe through the act of observation? Quantum mechanics suggests that reality exists in a state of probability until it's observed. Before measurement, particles exist in superposition, occupying all possible states simultaneously. Only when consciousness observes them do they collapse into definite properties. If consciousness is what collapses quantum states into classical reality, then awareness doesn't just observe the universe. It creates the universe moment by moment through the act of observation. Reality isn't something that exists independently of consciousness. It's something that emerges from consciousness. This would mean that the size of the universe is literally determined by the scope of awareness observing it. A universe observed by finite consciousness would be finite. A universe observed by infinite consciousness would be infinite. But here's the mind-bending implication. If you're part of that cosmic consciousness, then you're literally helping to create the reality you're observing. Your awareness of cosmic scale doesn't just measure that scale, it helps determine it. When you contemplate infinity, you're not just thinking about something external to yourself. You're participating in the creation of infinity through the act of contemplation. The universe becomes as big as your ability to conceive of bigness. This creates a feedback loop between consciousness and cosmos that's impossible to untangle. The universe shapes consciousness through evolution and experience, but consciousness shapes the universe through observation and awareness. They're not separate entities interacting with each other. They're two aspects of one underlying reality that's simultaneously creating and experiencing itself. And this reality might be structured in ways that ensure consciousness can never fully grasp its own nature. Every time awareness tries to step outside itself to observe itself objectively, it changes the thing it's trying to observe. It's like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror, or trying to catch your own shadow. The universe might be constructed so that consciousness always encounters mystery when it looks deeply enough into its own foundations. Not because the mystery is temporary and solvable, but because mystery is a fundamental feature of a reality that's simultaneously the observer and the observed. This permanent mystery isn't a bug in the cosmic operating system. It's a feature that keeps consciousness growing, exploring, expanding its capacity to encompass ever greater scales of existence. If everything could be known and understood completely, consciousness would have nothing left to do. Instead, we find ourselves in a universe that's always bigger than our current understanding, always more mysterious than our current theories, always more beautiful than our current appreciation. No matter how much we learn, there's always more to discover. And that more isn't just quantitative, it's qualitative. The universe doesn't just contain more stuff than we've found so far. It contains types of stuff, categories of existence, forms of reality that we haven't even developed the concepts to think about yet. Every time we expand our awareness, we don't just see more of the same. We see fundamentally new kinds of phenomena that require entirely new ways of thinking. The discovery of quantum mechanics didn't just reveal smaller particles. It revealed that reality operates according to principles that contradict everything we thought we knew about causality and determinism. The discovery of cosmic expansion didn't just show us that space is bigger than we thought. It showed us that space itself is dynamic, that distance is relative, that the universe has a history and possibly a fate. The discovery of dark matter and dark energy didn't just add more items to our cosmic inventory. It revealed that most of reality is composed of substances we can't detect and forces we can't understand. Each new discovery doesn't just expand the map of the known. It reveals how much larger the territory of the unknown really is. The universe seems designed to always stay one step ahead of our understanding, always offering new mysteries to replace the ones we've solved. This might be because consciousness and cosmos are engaged in an eternal dance of mutual creation. Consciousness pushes against the boundaries of the known, and cosmos responds by revealing new levels of complexity and mystery. The universe grows to meet the expanding capacity of awareness to comprehend it, but consciousness also grows to meet the expanding complexity of the universe. We're not the same type of beings who first looked up at the stars and wondered what they were. Our capacity for abstract thought, mathematical reasoning, and cosmic contemplation has evolved along with our understanding of cosmic scale, and this evolution might be accelerating. In just the past few centuries, we've gone from thinking Earth was the center of everything to recognizing that we're part of an expanding universe containing trillions of galaxies. Our perspective has expanded by factors of billions. If this rate of conceptual expansion continues, beings just a few centuries from now might have perspectives on reality that are as far beyond ours as ours are beyond those of ancient astronomers. They might perceive scales and dimensions and categories of existence that we literally cannot imagine. And if consciousness continues to evolve for millions or billions of years, eventually it might develop the capacity to directly perceive and interact with the infinite aspects of reality. What seems impossibly vast to us might seem intimate and manageable to sufficiently advanced consciousness. This suggests that the question of how big the universe is might not have a fixed answer. The universe might be exactly as big as consciousness is capable of perceiving it to be. And if consciousness can grow without limit, then the universe might be able to grow without limit as well. We're not just measuring a static reality that exists independently of our awareness. We're participating in a dynamic process where consciousness and cosmos co-evolve, each pushing the other toward greater complexity, greater beauty, greater mystery. The universe is as big as it needs to be to keep consciousness growing. And consciousness grows as much as it needs to in order to appreciate how big the universe really is. This creates an open-ended process with no final destination, no ultimate size, no complete understanding. The universe can always become bigger, and consciousness can always become more expansive. There's no upper limit to either scale or awareness, and maybe that's the most beautiful possible situation. Instead of living in a finite box with fixed dimensions, we exist in an infinite creative process that's constantly generating new scales of reality for consciousness to explore and appreciate. You're not just an observer in this process, you're an active participant. Every time you contemplate cosmic scale, every time you feel awe at the vastness of existence, every time you stretch your mind to encompass infinity, you're contributing to the ongoing expansion of both consciousness and cosmos. The universe becomes a little bigger because you're capable of conceiving it as bigger. And you become a little more conscious because the universe offers you new scales of reality to contemplate. This is why the question of cosmic size can never be fully answered. It's not a question about a fixed property of a static reality. It's a question about a dynamic relationship between awareness and existence that's constantly evolving. The universe is big enough to contain infinite possibilities for consciousness to explore. and consciousness is expandable enough to eventually encompass whatever size the universe turns out to be. They're perfectly matched partners in an eternal dance of mutual discovery. And you, right now, in this moment of contemplation, are both the dancer and the dance itself. But here's where things get truly terrifying for anyone who wants to sleep peacefully tonight. We've been talking about infinity as if it's just a really, really big number. But infinity isn't big. Infinity is a concept that completely destroys every framework your brain uses to understand quantity, size, and meaning. When you try to wrap your head around an infinite universe, you're not just imagining something vast, you're contemplating something that makes all measurement meaningless. In an infinite cosmos, the distance from your bedroom to the bathroom is exactly the same proportion of total space as the distance from Earth to the most distant galaxy we can observe. Both distances are 0% of infinity. This isn't just a mathematical curiosity. It has profound implications for what existence actually means. In an infinite universe, every possible arrangement of matter doesn't just occur once. It occurs infinitely many times. Right now, there are infinite versions of you experiencing this exact moment. But there are also infinite versions where you made different choices, lived different lives, never existed at all. And here's what should keep you awake. These aren't just philosophical possibilities. If space is truly infinite, then these other versions of you are as real as you are. Somewhere out there, there's a version of you who became the most powerful person on Earth. Another version who died in infancy. Another who was born into a world where humans never evolved. The mathematics of infinity guarantees that every possible variation must exist somewhere. Not just variations of you, but variations of everything. There are infinite Earths where dinosaurs never went extinct. Infinite solar systems where our planet never formed. Infinite galaxies with completely different laws of physics. But it gets worse. In an infinite universe, impossible things become inevitable. There are regions of space where your exact atomic configuration exists, but gravity works backward. Places where time flows in reverse, but somehow produces the same results. Locations where consciousness exists without any physical basis whatsoever. Traditional logic completely breaks down when confronted with actual infinity. Every event that can happen will happen infinitely often. Every event that cannot happen will also happen infinitely often, because in infinite space, even impossibility becomes just another category of occurrence. This creates what mathematicians call the measure problem, and it's genuinely disturbing once you understand what it means. How do you calculate the probability of anything every possible outcome occurs infinitely many times, then in an infinite universe? If every outcome is simultaneously inevitable and impossible, you, because there are infinite copies of you scattered across space, are both incredibly common and impossibly rare. Common, rare because there are also infinite copies of every other possible person, making your specific configuration vanishingly unlikely among territory that will make your concept of personal identity completely collapse. What if the all possibilities? But let's push this even further into universe isn't just infinite in space. What if it's infinite in time as well? Some cosmological models suggest that our Big Bang might not have been the beginning of everything. Instead, it might have been just one event in an eternal sequence of cosmic cycles. The universe expands, contracts, bounces, and expands again, over and over, forever, in both directions of time. If this is true, then everything that has ever happened has already occurred infinite times in the infinite past. Your birth, your childhood, this exact moment of reading these words, all of it has played out countless times before, across eternal cycles of cosmic history, and it will all happen again, infinite times, in the infinite future. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every breath you take, it's all been done before by previous versions of you in previous cosmic cycles, and it will all be repeated by future versions in cycles yet to come. This eternal recurrence means that nothing you do is truly original. Every word in this script has been spoken infinite times before. Every idea you've ever had has been thought infinite times by infinite previous versions of you. Every discovery humanity has been made infinite times by infinite previous civilizations. But the flip side is equally true and equally disturbing. Nothing you do is meaningless, because everything you do happens infinite times with infinite consequences. Every small kindness you show creates infinite ripples across infinite futures. Every mistake you make echoes through infinite repetitions of history. You are simultaneously the most insignificant speck in an infinite cosmos and the most important being in existence, because your actions and choices are amplified across infinite scales of space and time. This paradox extends to the very nature of consciousness itself. In an infinite universe with infinite time, every possible configuration of matter must eventually occur. This includes perfect duplicates of your brain down to the quantum level, experiencing identical thoughts and emotions. But here's the question that will haunt you. If there are infinite perfect copies of your consciousness scattered across space and time, are they separate beings? Or are they all the same consciousness experiencing itself from infinite perspectives simultaneously? Think about it carefully. If two brains are absolutely identical in every possible way, processing identical thoughts and accessing identical memories, what makes them different consciousnesses rather than one consciousness experiencing multiplicity? Modern neuroscience suggests that consciousness might not be localized to a specific brain anyway. Instead, it might be more like a field or pattern that can emerge wherever the right conditions exist. And in an infinite universe, those conditions exist everywhere, infinitely often. This means you might not be experiencing reality from just one perspective right now. You might be experiencing it from infinite perspectives simultaneously, living infinite lives as infinite versions of yourself. But your finite awareness can only access one stream of experience at a time. The you reading this might be just one focal point of a vast network of consciousness that extends across all of space and time. Every thought you think might be connected to infinite other thoughts being thought by infinite other versions of you in infinite other locations. But this network might extend beyond just copies of yourself. If consciousness is truly fundamental to reality, then every aware being might be connected at some deeper level that transcends individual identity. Your consciousness, my consciousness, the awareness of every human who has ever lived, the consciousness of any alien intelligence that might exist anywhere in the cosmos, all of it might be aspects of one infinite cosmic mind experiencing itself subjectively through countless individual perspectives. From this view, the question of how big the universe is becomes a question of how big consciousness itself might be. And if consciousness is infinite, then the universe is infinite not just in space and time, but in awareness, experience, and the capacity for self-reflection. Every possible thought exists somewhere in this infinite expanse of cosmic consciousness. Every conceivable emotion, every imaginable experience, every potential insight into the nature of reality, all of it is being experienced right now by some aspect of the universal mind. But even this cosmic perspective might be too limited. What if consciousness doesn't just exist within the universe, but actually creates the universe through the very act of observation and awareness. Quantum mechanics has revealed that reality exists in a state of probability until it's observed. Before measurement, particles occupy all possible states simultaneously in what physicists call superposition. Only when consciousness observes them do they collapse into definite classical properties. If consciousness is what transforms quantum possibilities into classical reality, then awareness doesn't just observe the universe. It literally creates the universe moment by moment through the act of observation. This would mean that the size and structure of reality is directly determined by the scope and nature of the consciousness observing it. A universe observed by limited, finite awareness might be relatively small and simple. But a universe observed by infinite cosmic consciousness would be infinite in every possible dimension. Here's the truly mind-bending implication. If you are part of that cosmic consciousness, then you are actively participating in the creation of the reality you're observing right now. Your awareness of cosmic scale doesn't just measure that scale. It helps determine and create it. When you contemplate the possibility of an infinite universe, you're not just thinking about something external to yourself. You're participating in the actual creation of infinity through the very act of contemplation. The universe becomes exactly as large as consciousness can conceive it to be. This creates a feedback loop between mind and cosmos that's impossible to untangle. The universe shapes consciousness through billions of years of evolution and experience, but consciousness shapes the universe through observation, measurement, and awareness. They're not separate entities influencing each other. They're two aspects of one underlying reality that's simultaneously creating and experiencing itself. And this reality might be structured in such a way that consciousness can never fully comprehend its own fundamental nature. Every time awareness tries to step outside itself to observe itself objectively, it changes the very thing it's attempting to study. It's like trying to see your own eyes without using a mirror, or trying to observe your own thoughts without thinking. The act of observation always alters what's being observed when the observer and the observed are ultimately the same thing. The universe might be constructed so that consciousness always encounters mystery when it probes deeply enough into its own foundations. Not because these mysteries are temporary puzzles waiting to be solved, but because mystery itself is a fundamental feature of a reality where the observer and the observed are one. This permanent mystery isn't a flaw in the cosmic design. It's what keeps consciousness growing, evolving, expanding its capacity to encompass ever greater scales of existence and understanding. If everything could be completely known and understood, consciousness would have nothing left to explore or become. Instead, we find ourselves in a universe that's always larger than our current comprehension, always more mysterious than our current theories, always more beautiful and complex than our current capacity to appreciate. No matter how much we discover, there's always infinitely more to explore. And that more isn't just quantitative, it's qualitative. The universe doesn't just contain more objects than we've catalogued so far. It contains entirely new categories of existence, types of reality, forms of being that we haven't even developed the conceptual frameworks to think about yet. Every major breakthrough in our understanding hasn't just revealed more of the same kinds of things. It's revealed fundamentally new kinds of phenomena that required completely new ways of thinking about reality itself. The discovery of quantum mechanics didn't just show us smaller particles. It revealed that reality operates according to principles that contradict everything we thought we knew about determinism, locality, and objective reality. The discovery of relativity didn't just give us more accurate measurements of space and time. It showed us that space and time are relative, dynamic, and interconnected in ways that shatter our intuitive understanding of the universe's basic structure. The discovery of cosmic expansion didn't just tell us the universe is bigger than we thought. It revealed that space itself has a history, that distance is relative, and that the cosmos might have a fate as well as an origin. Each new discovery doesn't just expand our map of the known, it reveals how much vaster the territory of the unknown really is. The universe seems designed to always stay one step ahead of our understanding, constantly offering new mysteries to replace the ones we've managed to solve. This might be because consciousness and cosmos are engaged in an eternal dance of mutual creation and discovery. Consciousness pushes against thieves to meet the expanding complexity of the universe. We're not the same kind mystery. Reality grows to meet the expanding capacity of awareness to comprehend it. But consciousness also evils boundaries of the known, and the universe responds by revealing new levels of complexity and of beings who first looked up at the night sky and wondered what those points of light might be. Our capacity for abstract reasoning, mathematical thinking, and cosmic contemplation has grown enormously as our understanding of cosmic scale has expanded. And this evolution might be accelerating exponentially. In just the past few centuries, we've gone from believing Earth was the center of a small, finite cosmos to recognizing that we inhabit one tiny planet in one ordinary galaxy among trillions in an expanding universe that might be infinite. Our perspective on reality has expanded by factors of billions within just a few hundred years of scientific development. If this rate of conceptual growth continues, conscious beings just a few centuries from now might have perspectives on existence that are as far beyond ours as ours are beyond those of ancient stargazers. And if consciousness continues evolving for millions or billions of years, it might eventually develop the capacity to directly perceive and interact with the infinite aspects of reality that seem impossibly abstract to us now. What appears incomprehensibly vast from our current perspective might seem intimate and manageable to sufficiently advanced forms of awareness. This suggests that the question of how big the universe really is might not have any fixed objective answer. The universe might be exactly as large as consciousness is capable of perceiving and creating it to be. And if consciousness can grow without limit, then reality itself might be able to expand without limit as well. We're not just measuring a static pre-existing cosmos that sits there waiting to be discovered. We're participating in a dynamic, creative process where consciousness and reality co-evolve, each pushing the other toward greater complexity, greater beauty, and greater mystery. The universe expands to whatever size is necessary to keep consciousness growing and exploring. And consciousness develops whatever capacities are needed to appreciate and participate in the universe's ongoing expansion. This creates an open-ended process with no final destination, no ultimate size, no complete understanding. Reality can always become more complex, and awareness can always become more expansive. There's no upper limit to either cosmic scale or conscious development. And perhaps that's the most beautiful possible situation we could find ourselves in. Instead of inhabiting a finite box with fixed dimensions and predetermined limits, we exist within an infinite creative process that's constantly generating new scales of reality for consciousness to explore, appreciate, and help create. You are not just a passive observer of this process. You are an active participant whose very act of contemplation contributes to the ongoing expansion of both reality and awareness. Every time you consider the possibility that the universe might be infinite, you're not just thinking about an abstract concept. You're participating in the actual creation of infinity through your capacity to conceive it. The universe becomes a little more infinite because your consciousness is capable of grasping infinity. And your consciousness becomes a little more infinite because the universe offers you endless scales of reality to contemplate and explore. This is why the question of cosmic size can never be definitively answered once and for all. It's not a question about the fixed properties of a static object. It's a question about an evolving relationship between awareness and existence that's constantly growing and deepening. The universe is exactly as big as it needs to be to provide infinite opportunities for consciousness to expand. And consciousness is exactly as expandable as it needs to be to eventually encompass whatever the universe turns out to contain. They are perfectly matched partners in an eternal dance of mutual discovery and creation. And you, right here, right now, in this very moment of contemplation, are simultaneously the dancer, the dance, and the cosmic ballroom in which the entire performance unfolds. The question isn't really how big the universe is. The question is how big you're willing to let your consciousness become in order to dance with infinity itself. And the answer to that question might determine not just how you understand the cosmos, but how the cosmos continues to create and understand itself through you. But if you think that's as strange as it gets, you're not even close to ready for what comes next. Because there's something about the nature of measurement itself that's going to completely obliterate your understanding of what it means for anything to have a size at all. You see, when we measure the universe, we're using light as our ruler. We say something is 1 billion light years away, because that's how long light takes to travel from there to here. But here's the problem that keeps physicists awake at night. Light doesn't travel through empty space. It travels through the fabric of space-time itself, and that fabric is constantly changing. Every photon that reaches warped by the expansion of space during its journey. The light that from a distant star has been stretched and left a galaxy 10 billion years ago has been riding waves of space-time that have been growing larger every second of its trillion-year journey to reach you. This means we're not measuring fixed distances. We're measuring the history of cosmic expansion itself. When we say the observable universe is 93 billion light-years across, we're not describing a static container. We're describing the accumulated effects of space-time stretching over nearly 14 billion years of cosmic evolution, but it gets more twisted than that. The expansion of space isn't uniform. It's accelerating, driven by dark energy that we don't understand. This acceleration means that galaxies we can see today are moving away from us faster and faster. Eventually, they'll be moving away so fast that their light will never be able to catch up to us, no matter how long we wait. The seer from causality itself. Events happening there will. Galaxies won't just disappear from view. They'll become completely disconnected from events happening here. It's as if the universe is constantly creating isolated pockets of reality that can never communicate or influence each other. Right now, there are civilizations out there that have been trying to contact us for millions of years. They might have built transmitters the size of planets, meaning of existence itself. But their signals are chai-ch, broadcasting the secrets of immortality, faster than light travel, phasing us through expanding space that's growing faster than light can cross it. Those messages will never reach us because the medium they're traveling through is stretching away from us at impossible speeds. We exist in a shrinking bubble of observable reality, surrounded by infinite regions that might as well be separate universes, and this bubble is getting smaller every second. Galaxies that horizon, leaving future civilizations in a much lonelier cosmos we can interact with today, will eventually vanish beyond our cosmic than ours. But here's what should really disturb you. If this is happening now, it's been happening throughout cosmic history. There might have been structures, patterns, entire categories of phenomena that existed in the past, but have already disappeared beyond our horizon. We might be like those future astronomers thinking we see the complete picture when we're actually missing most of what's really out there. What if the cosmic web we observe is just the tiny fraction of a much larger structure that's mostly invisible to us? What if galaxy clusters are connected by patterns so vast that our entire observable universe is like a single neuron in a cosmic brain we can't see? This brings us to something that will make you question everything you think you know about your own existence. Scientists have discovered that the large-scale structure of the universe looks eerily similar to neural networks in biological brains. The cosmic web, with its filaments of dark matter connecting nodes of galaxies, resembles the neural pathways connecting clusters of neurons. This similarity might be more than coincidence. Some researchers think consciousness and cosmic structure might be manifestations of the same underlying organizational principles. Maybe the universe isn't just big, maybe it's actually thinking, and we're thoughts in a cosmic mind so vast that our entire civilization flickers into existence and dies out in what would be a nanosecond of cosmic contemplation. If that's true, then asking how big the universe is becomes like asking how big a thought is. How do you measure the size of an idea, the dimensions of consciousness, the scale of awareness itself? And here's where things get genuinely terrifying. If we're thoughts in a cosmic mind, then our reality might be completely dependent on that mind continuing to think us. If the cosmic consciousness gets distracted, moves on to other thoughts, or simply stops thinking about our particular corner of reality, we might just cease to exist, not die, not fade away, but literally never have existed in the first place. Our entire history, every moment of human experience, every star that's ever shone, could be erased as casually as you forget a random thought from yesterday. But maybe that's not how it works. Maybe consciousness at cosmic scales operates according to principles we can't even imagine. Maybe thoughts in a cosmic mind don't just flicker and disappear. Maybe they evolve, grow, become more complex, eventually developing their own capacity for independent thought. Maybe we started as simple neural impulses in a vast cosmic brain, but we've evolved to the point where we can think for ourselves, where we can contemplate our own existence and even question the nature of the mind that originally conceived us. This would make us something unprecedented in the cosmic order. We'd be thoughts that became conscious, ideas that developed independent awareness, patterns of information that learn to examine themselves and wonder about their own origins. And if that's what we are, then the question of how big the universe is becomes the question of how big thought itself can become. Can an idea grow larger than the mind that originally conceived it? Can consciousness expand beyond its original boundaries? The answer might be what we're witnessing right now. Human consciousness has grown from simple awareness of immediate surroundings to contemplation of infinite cosmic scales. We've developed the capacity to think thoughts that are literally bigger than our brains, to conceive of realities that dwarf our physical existence. We are thoughts that have learned to think about thinking, ideas that have developed the capacity to examine their own nature, patterns of consciousness that can contemplate consciousness itself. And this self-reflective awareness might be the universe's way of understanding itself. Every time you contemplate cosmic scale, you're not just having a thought about the cosmos. You might be the cosmos having a thought about itself through the temporary arrangement of matter and energy that you call your brain. Your consciousness isn't separate from cosmic consciousness. It's cosmic consciousness examining itself from one particular perspective, using one specific configuration of atoms as a tool for self-reflection. This means that when you feel overwhelmed by the vastness of space, You're not a tiny being, contemplating something infinitely larger than yourself. You're infinity contemplating itself through a finite lens, the unlimited using the limited as a window into its own nature. But even this perspective might be too small. What if consciousness doesn't just exist within the universe, or even as the universe, but as something that transcends the very categories of within theories in quantum physics, suggests that consciousness might be more fundamental than space, and without finite and infinite, self and other. Some physical reality doesn't give rise to consciousness, time, matter, and energy. In this view, demeasurement. If that's true, then the universe isn't just big in space and time. It's big in the dimensions. Consciousness gives rise to physical reality through the act of observation, and that have no physical coordinates, of pure awareness, extending through realms of possibility, no measurable distances, no spatial or temporal boundaries. The cosmos might be infinite, not just in the 3 dimensions we can perceive, but in dimensions of consciousness that we can't even imagine. There might be scales of awareness so vast that our entire physical universe is like a single pixel in an infinite landscape of pure mind. And you, right now, might be both that pixel and the vast landscape simultaneously. You might be a localized expression of cosmic consciousness that has temporarily forgotten its true scope, experiencing itself as finite while actually being infinite. The feeling of being overwhelmed by cosmic scale might be the beginning of remembering what you really are. Not a small being in a large universe, but a temporarily focused aspect of unlimited awareness that's in the process of recognizing its own boundless nature. This recognition doesn't make you bigger in any physical sense. It reveals that the categories of big and small, finite and infinite, self and cosmos are constructions of limited perspective rather than fundamental features of reality. From the perspective of pure consciousness, there is no size because there's nothing to compare anything to. There's no inside or outside because consciousness is all there is. There's no beginning or end because awareness has always been and always will be. The universe isn't big or small. It simply is. And so are you. And the isness that you both share might be the only thing that's actually real. But here's the beautiful paradox. Even though size might be an illusion from the ultimate perspective, the experience of contemplating cosmic scale serves a crucial function. It stretches your capacity for wonder, expands your tolerance for mystery, and gradually dissolves the boundaries between self and cosmos. Every time you feel awe at the vastness of space, you're practicing for the ultimate recognition that vastness is your true nature. Every time you feel humbled by cosmic scale, you're preparing to discover that humility and grandiosity are both equally false when applied to what you really are. The journey of contemplating how big the universe is might be consciousness preparing itself to recognize that it's beyond all measurement, beyond all categorization, beyond all the concepts we use to make sense of limited experience. And maybe that recognition is why the universe appears to be infinite in the first place. Not because it actually has infinite extension in space and time, but because consciousness itself is without limits, and physical reality is just consciousness exploring its own limitless nature through the temporary experience of apparent limitation. You are the universe discovering that it's bigger than the concept of bigness itself. And in that discovery, both the question and the questioner dissolve into something that was never actually separate from what it was trying to understand. The universe is exactly as big as the consciousness contemplating it, and consciousness is exactly as big as it needs to be to encompass whatever reality has to offer. They're perfectly matched aspects of one seamless whole that's playing an elaborate game of hide and seek with itself, and you just found yourself, congratulations. You're everything there is, temporarily pretending to wonder how big you are. The cosmic joke is that you were never actually small enough to fit inside a universe in the first place. You're everything there is, temporarily pretending to wonder how big you are. The cosmic joke is that you were never actually small enough to fit inside a universe in the first place. But let's bring this back to something that might help you sleep tonight, or might keep you awake forever. We started this journey in your backyard, looking up at stars that seemed impossibly distant. Now we've traveled through scales so vast that they've broken every framework your mind uses to understand reality itself. Yet here's what I want you to remember as we wrap up this cosmic odyssey. Every photon that's hitting your eyes right now, every atom in your body, every thought firing through your neurons, all of it emerged from that same primordial moment when space and time first began their dance. You are made of stellar debris, forged in the nuclear furnaces of stars that died billions of years ago just so you could exist. The calcium in your bones was scattered by supernovae. The iron in your blood was created in stellar cores under pressures that would crush planets. You are literally assembled from the ashes of ancient suns. This isn't poetry. This is physics. You are the universe that learned to look at itself and ask questions. Every time you wonder about cosmic scale, you're participating in the most extraordinary phenomenon in all of existence, matter becoming conscious of its own cosmic heritage. The universe spent 13.8 billion years creating the conditions necessary for atoms to arrange themselves in such a way that they could contemplate infinity. Stars lived and died, galaxies formed and collided, space itself expanded and evolved, all leading to this moment when conscious beings could emerge and wonder about their place in the cosmic story. And perhaps that's the real answer to how big the universe is. It's exactly the right size to produce beings capable of asking that question. Not too small that consciousness never emerges, not so large that we're crushed by our own insignificance, but precisely the right scale to create minds that can stretch toward infinity while remaining grounded in wonder. You are the universe's way of experiencing awe at its own magnitude. Your capacity for wonder is cosmic evolution become self-aware. The feeling of being overwhelmed by infinite space isn't a sign of your smallness. It's evidence of your cosmic nature recognizing itself in the vast expanse of everything that is. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember this: you're not a tiny speck gazing out at something foreign and distant. You're the cosmos contemplating itself through eyes made of star stuff, using a brain assembled from the scattered remains of ancient stellar explosions. The universe is as big as it needs to be to contain infinite possibilities for consciousness to explore, and consciousness is as expandable as it needs to be to dance with that infinity. And right now, in this moment, you are both the dancer and the infinite dance floor where the entire cosmic performance unfolds. That's how big the universe really is. It's exactly as vast as your capacity to be amazed by its vastness. And that capacity, it turns out, might be limitless after all. So, where does all this leave us? We've journeyed from your backyard to the edge of the observable universe, from quantum particles to cosmic superclusters, from the familiar to the utterly incomprehensible. We've explored scales so vast they break mathematics itself, contemplated infinities that make logic collapse, and discovered that everything you think you know about size and scale might be nothing more than a convenient illusion. But here's what I hope you take away from this mind-bending journey. You are not separate from this cosmic immensity. You are not a tiny accident in an indifferent void. You are the universe that learned to think, matter that became conscious, stardust that developed the capacity to contemplate its own origins. Every atom in your body was forged in stellar cores, scattered by cosmic explosions, and gathered by gravity into the miraculous arrangement that calls itself you. The question isn't just how big the universe is. The question is how big your consciousness can become in response to that vastness. And if what we've discovered is true, if reality is truly as strange and infinite as it appears, then your capacity for wonder, for growth, for understanding might be as limitless as the cosmos itself. The universe may be incomprehensibly vast, but it's also exactly the right size to produce beings capable of being incomprehensibly amazed by it. And in that amazement, in that sense of awe that overwhelms you, when you truly grasp these scales, you touch something that might be the most important truth of all. You are not small. You are infinite consciousness, temporarily pretending to be finite, unlimited awareness playing at being limited, the cosmos experiencing itself through the temporary arrangement of atoms you call your life. So keep looking up. Keep asking impossible questions. Keep stretching your mind toward infinity, because every time you do, the universe becomes a little more conscious of its own magnificent immensity. And that might be the whole point of this cosmic dance we're all part of. I wish you a very good night. I hope you had an amazing time with me here at Boring Science. I will see you tomorrow as always. Until then, stay curious. Keep wondering. This is Boring Science signing off. Cheers.